Hi, my name is Doris, and this is Heart of Stitches, a podcast where we can chat about knitting and crocheting and any kind of needlecraft. I've been doing all of those things my whole life. I am the mother of 3 adult children and 3 grandchildren, which I will mention probably. Um, sorry. This is episode number 6, and I'm surprised at myself that I've made it this far. I'm so far outside my comfort zone, but I so enjoy the community and the comments. I don't get a lot of comments, but I've answered them all. Some people answer back again. So we're starting a discussion, and I've so enjoyed that. I've had one viewer who said that they were making the Eric Clapton cardigan, a crocheted cardigan. I'd never heard of it. I had to look it up, and it's stunning. It's so colorful. I tend to make things that are less colorful, so I'm so excited to see other people's projects and maybe inspire me to get even further outside my comfort zone and do some of those, psychedelic mod colors from the 60s and 70s that are getting popular again now. Um, but I thank you to, I'm going to take a sip of my tea. I'm sorry. I thank you to any returning viewers, any new viewers. You're so welcome. I, um, I'm excited to have more knitting community. There's probably just never going to be enough. Um, I don't have any finished objects to talk about that I made in the last week, but I wanted to show you some things I made from the TLC TLYC Yarn Academy. It's Tony Lipsey's Yarn Academy she does every year. I think it's sponsored by Lion Brand. So I made all of her projects from 2 years ago. And she just finished the Yarn Academy posts and then releases patterns. So now it'll be all of her community, which I think she calls the Hive, uh, posting pictures of everything that they've made. And there's one item I do want to make this year called the Gloria tote. It's a 3-color tote. She made it in a Lion Brand. I'm not exactly sure. I think a recycled Lion Brand yarn that's 100% polyester. I plan on making mine. I have a lot of colors and leftovers of the Lion Brand 24/7 cotton, which is also a worsted weight. So I'm going to make one out of that. And I haven't started it yet, and I probably am not going to start it for at least a few weeks. Um, but it's what I sort of think in my mind of as a weekender, something that you can start and stop in 3 or 4 days and have a finished item. And it's always an adrenaline boost or whatever the hormone is that makes you happy when you finish something or cast on something. So then, you just get the excitement of casting on and the excitement of finishing something in a really short period of time. Because I have a lot of whips that are languishing at best. I never took the sip. This is one of my favorite mugs, and it's called Polish Pottery. I think it does have a like a town name, but I think the Polish Pottery is like a collective of a lot of potters in Poland that sell their things under one name. But it's always this dark blue. There's other colors. I take this thing off. It's not as warm as it was. Mine is a little bluebell kind of pattern, but a lot of times the flowers are orange. It can be sort of pricey, but it's really really nice. This is a commuter mug. If I drop this, that lid's going to pop right off. It's not on that tight. But if somebody jostles the table, it's not going to spill. So I tend to jostle. I have a little tiny table right in front of me, and I tend to jostle it when I'm talking. So this is a great mug for me. I wanted to show you from the TL Yarn Academy is the Aruba Tunic. I use it as a bathing suit cover up, especially when I go on vacation. I take actually a 9-day vacation every year to the beach in Florida, and we started doing it. My daughter and I were 13 years ago, I think, and we've been going every year. And then it was such a spring is sprung in Connecticut, and you're just can't wait for the fine weather. So we would always go the week before Memorial Day and then stay and leave on Memorial Day. Now that we live closer, she lives closer. I'm here. I'm actually not permanently here, but it's not as exciting maybe to spend 9 days at a beach, but it's just one of those resorts that has a pool and restaurants, and then fast food restaurants. They have a couple of bars, so you can just we get up, go to the beach. The beach chairs get collected around 5 o'clock. Go to the pool, stay there, go eat, repeat the next day. I mean, it's just very, very relaxing. And now my daughter's been bringing the kids, so it's not as relaxing when you're sitting around as it used to be. But I still enjoy it. And when I'm at a resort like that, if I'm going to the bar or the restroom or to the little grocery that they have where you can buy snacks, um, I like to have something on. I don't walk around in my bathing suit that much. Um, so I have this. It's a very, very simple construction. You basically make two long rectangles. Um, I started on the white side. Um, so each one is this long or this wide, so this many rows. I don't know how many rows that is, maybe 30 or 35. Um, and then it's super long, so it goes from one side up over your shoulder down the other side. Um, this is Tunisian crochet. I'm not sure if I said that. Um, I have not made a lot of things in Tunisian crochet, but it's fun and it's compared to other crochet stitches, it lays flatter. It's with Tunisian crochet, you do the first pass, you pick up all the loops, and then the second pass, you return. You're basically binding off all the loops, and then you come back again and pick them all up. This one has a slip stitch, so there's a yarn over, and you're picking up every other one. So that's why it's got these big lacy holes in it. Um, I did exactly to pattern, other than because I'm tall and I wanted it to come to the bottom of my bathing suit and not like crop right under my butt. I cast it on about 30 more stitches than what the pattern called for. Um, Also, the only other thing I did differently than what she said is she called for this Kobu Lion Brand yarn. It's starting to rain. I hope that's not going to be in the sound too much. That is 31% cotton and 49% rayon from bamboo. I didn't like the color palette, or it wasn't what I was looking for to make a garment for me to match my bathing suit, because my bathing suit, at least at the time, was this color, at least at the bottom. This is called Thistle, and it's the true boo. And this one is the 100% bamboo yarn. So this is silkier and a little slipperier than the one that added the cotton. But as far as how the garment wears and how it knitted or crocheted, it wasn't that big of a difference. It's starting to rain harder. I don't know if I'm going to need to stop. I have to keep going though because my family's going to be home in an hour. If I don't do this now, I won't be able to do it. And I wanted to get an episode filmed and out before I go on vacation because I won't have a chance to do it. If I don't do it today, I won't get a chance to do it before I go on vacation. So I'm going to keep going, and if the rain is too loud, I won't be able to publish it, but we'll see. So anyway, you make two long, long, long strips, and then you seam up the middle, leaving a wide opening, so it was a little higher seaming in the back than in the front. And then you seam on the sides, leaving open a open seam on the sides. This is comfortable to wear. It doesn't absorb too much moisture. It's easy because it's so wide. I made mine especially big. It's a little caftan-y, and then with the stripes, I know I walked up to my daughter and didn't let my people go, but it serves a purpose. Also, because I made it so wide, when you have your arms, can't get this to show right, as it hangs down on the sides, which isn't a style I particularly wear very often, but it's for the beach. I made it myself. Nobody else on the beach is wearing a handmade tunic to cover up. So I'm proud of it. I like to wear it. It was easy to crochet. This is the Tunisian crochet hook that I used. So it has a long cable. I use one of these cable ties when I have something that's very slippy and very long. So I just keep pushing the fabric up and pushing that. So I'm never tug, 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 trying to keep my stitches up. I do this on a Stephen West shawl on my circular knitting needles. I just put it in the middle and keep moving it back and forth to push my fabric up to keep it close to my end of the needle or hook. I've also seen people put them on the end of the needle as like a stitch stopper. Excuse me, now I have the hiccups. Um, the only thing, this is I'm not sure what brand it is. It's either Knit Picks or Lantern Hill. Um, and this is a size I, 5.5 millimeters. So it's a fairly large hook, and you were slipping. So you had these big, long, slippy stitches. There, I'm not sure if it will show. This is completely round all the way around, other than in the hook area. And when you're doing it, it tends to roll back, like because you're constantly pushing it with your thumb, so you're rolling it. And then I had to keep sort of twisting it back, and now it has stitches on it. So I bought this from crochet.com, and it's TL Yarncraft branded. And I think she had a hand in saying what she wanted, but other than on the box, it's not branded anywhere else with TL Yarncraft. But it's a set of hooks in this nice case with some of the cables in there. I'll pull out the biggest one. And it's going to be hard to see. I'll have to take a picture and show it. But if you see that little flat area, that is enough of a thumb rest that I think you can, it'll keep my needle from my hook from spinning on me in my hand. And I won't constantly be fighting that. So I'm anxious to use this. I have a Tunisian crochet blanket that I'm making that has sort of been in deep storage because it hurts my hand to work on it. I can't work on it a lot. Uh, it's a gingham pattern, so it's got like nine balls of yarn attached to it. So I don't like to work on it when the kids are around. But I think I'm going to pull it back out at the next opportunity and start working on it with that and switch out the crochet hook to the one with the thumb rest. And I think that will make the world of difference as far as comfort, at least. One of the other projects that I made was the Tobago bag. Um, this is out of Lion Brand 24/7. So I do have a lot of colors of this. Um, you make hexagons. So it's two hexagons and then a square. And I think that's it. That's really was all there was to it as far as it was just a three-piece construction. Um, and then when you fold them in half, sew them together. So when you're looking at it, you're not looking at it the hexagon side out. You're looking at it this way. I have used this for travel. I was traveling from Connecticut to Florida or vice versa, and I use this as like an overnight bag. I stopped at a hotel and I just put my change of clothes, a few toiletries. I think I shoved my computer in here. So I've stretched out the handle a lot by it was the computer that was one thing too heavy to put in there. So I made my strap curl. The strap was made out of Tunisian crochet. And then there's this cable tie cording that was I think just a chain, and then you went back on it and single crocheted into the bump at the bottom of the chain to make it rounder and more sturdy. I put these little, almost like um, those beads. What was the name of those beads? Pandora beads. They weren't. These are not Pandora beads. They're from Michaels, but It's got a big hole in it, just to add a little bling to it. I also bought some lining material that's why I haven't been using it, because I wanted to put a lining in it. If you are using it as a project bag or even to travel, if you put a pen in that, but just any kind of crochet isn't tight enough to not have something sharp like a pen or a crochet hook poke through it. So I bought this lining material. I bought this one, which is sort of a Starry Night pattern, and the second one that's these um, sort of fun alpacas. So I also made a basket. So one of them's going to get the alpaca, and the other one is going to get either the bag and the basket are going to get those two colors of lining. Um, the basket is here, and it was called the Starlight Basket. But when I looked it up yesterday to make sure the pattern was still available on Tony Lipsy's blog, and it is, when I put Starlight in, it didn't come up, but when I put basket, it came right up. And then in the words, it calls it the Starlight Basket. But when I did the little um, search thing, it Starlight didn't get it, but basket did. So this is a better basket than I've ever made. It was two. You held double Lion brand woolies in like a chunky or bulky weight. I didn't really love this yarn. And a little trick that Lion Brand was playing on everyone. When you went to the website to order the yarn, there it gives you all these different colors, and some are speckled like mine is. Some were a flat, just plain solid. Well, as people were crocheting, they were pointing out if you got the speckled ones, and I think there were some ones that were sort of stripy. They had less yardage in them. So my basket is one round of the bottom less than what the pattern called for, because I was worried I was going to run out. Other people that were ahead of me on making them, because the patterns were released. Some people finished one thing first, some people finished another. I made the bags first and then this second. Well, anyway, I was coming to find out people were running out of yarn with the same kind of yarn that I had. So one thing to watch out for. I think they should call it something else. I think they should make it very plain when you're ordering it that you're getting less yarn if you order this color versus if it was just green without the tweedy speckling looking. But anyway, that's my soapbox. It's got this little braided stitch up the side, which gives it so much more structure. Also holding it double, which it is harder on your hands, but it does make a nicer basket. A lot of the times I'll use extra yarn and make a basket, but it's very floppier compared to this one. In this, the 24/7 yarn that I used for the Tobago bag is denim, sky, taupe, and fuchsia are these colors. I don't know what the color of that green tweedy thing is. I didn't write it down. I didn't save the ball band. For whips, I've been working on the ranunculus more than anything else, because as I was working, I started thinking I have a better chance of finishing the ranunculus in time to bring it completed and blocked and washed on vacation than I do the artwork sweater. So I have moved this one to alpha status ranunculus in time to bring it completed and blocked and washed on vacation than I do the artwork sweater. So I have moved this one to alpha status. When we were when I was last here, we were at this marker. So since then, I have split for sleeves. So I was just about to split for sleeves. I think I was doing the raglan area then. I have split for sleeves. I have 3 balls of yarn attached to this. So one is stuffed inside of each sleeve. I've got about 5 inches of sleeve done, which may be enough, but I want to get more body done and then try it on just to make sure that as the body comes down, it might pull the sleeves up or vice versa. So I'm not going to bind off the sleeves, even though I have them almost to I want this to be short sleeve. So pretty much where I want them to be there is where they are. Um, and then I have the body, but this just knits up so fast compared um, to the artwork. So I'm going to finish this first and then go back to the artwork just for time's sake and that I'm going on vacation. This is Midori Hirose, I didn't mention, and it's Berrocco Arno, 57% cotton, 43% merino, a blown yarn, in colorway 5036 Wisteria. I'm making the 5th size. I did the smaller neckline and the short rows on the front and the back. Again, I can't say enough. Everyone's making this not because it's so popular, but it's popular because it's so good. I think some patterns tend to go, viral and everybody starts making them. And it's not that the pattern is so great. It's just that everyone's making them. So, and they look great and everybody jumps on the bandwagon. This really is a fine, fine pattern that is so adaptable to yarn and to size that I really can't say enough. I think this designer is a genius. So this I plan on having done when I go to Scotland. If there's, for any reason, I can't get it absolutely finished, I bought a new steamer, a Rowenta, a nice one. So I will steam it, and if I have to do the ribbing on the airplane, I will do that on wooden needles because I don't want to bring my metal needles through customs. But that is definitely coming with me. The artwork sweater, as far as coming to on vacation, is a little bit on the bubble. We'll see how much I can get done. And then the same thing, I could steam it. It really needs a good steam on the top. I have some rippling, but it's the artwork sweater by Hinterm Stein. I'm making the 6th size, and it's mountain meadow wool. The base is Cody, a two-ply sport, and it's the natural color. It's merino wool made in Wyoming, which I said last time, and I maybe shouldn't repeat it because it wasn't the nice comment. My son didn't like it. I do like it, but my son. Okay. The artwork sweater. Here's the front. So see out where I'm getting the rippling, which I mentioned, I think, on my last podcast, that I had read in the comments of somebody who was making a saddle shoulder and got the same rippling, that when your row gauge is short compared to the designer, that's when you get this rippling, which I'm hoping will block out. If it doesn't, I'm still going to wear it because I really like this sweater, but I do tend to have short row gauge compared to my stitch gauge. So I did put a marker from where I was last time, but I've made a lot of progress. I've got a lot of the sleeve going, so I'm working on the sleeves and the length at the same time because the sleeves fatigue my hands a little bit. And I think it was the sleeves before I moved to a shorter cord, um, burrowing a hole in my finger. It's sort of healed up now. But this it's a raglan style sweater with um, details on the arms that go all the way down the arms. But the back is where the intriguing part of this pattern comes. You work short rows in the beginning. So after you make the collar, you do short rows and make that little tab in the middle, and then start making the sleeves from there. It's such a nice construction, but see, I have that rippling on the back too, which I'm hoping will block out. But I can't block it too much because, as usual, I'm making this a little bigger than it needs to be. I think I'm so worried it's going to be too small that I make it too big. If I'm not able to finish this or get it far enough along to bring with me, I will finish it as soon as I get back. Like this is my number one priority, was to finish this, but time's getting the better of me and I won't be able to finish it before I go. Because in the meantime, I have cast on 2 other things. the Riptide Scarfette, which is by Jennifer Shiels Toland. It's JST Knitwear Designs, and it's just a thin, almost like a belt. It's you from a tab you come out to a certain width, and then it's straight. Um, I will put up a picture of it, and I have a very, very, very little bit done. I just wanted to make sure that I liked the pattern and I liked my gauge before I left, just so I didn't get there wishing I had different needles or different yarn. This is 100% cashmere. Um, when I made the string of pearls sweater, which I wore in episode 3, and talked a lot about the cashmere, which I'm not going to get into again, but I thought I was going to run out of yarn, so I ordered 2 more balls. And when it came, it was a different color. Um, this is what I have left of the string of pearls sweater. And if you can't see, and my lighting's not great because it's raining, one of them is a creamy sort of pink, and the other one's bazooka bubblegum, yeah, right out of the package with the powder on it, pink. So um, I couldn't have used it on that string of pearl sweater. If it had been the same color, I probably would have made that sweater 3/4 of an inch longer. But since I couldn't, it's going to be this Riptide Scarfette. So far, I mean, it's very small, and you're doing a lot of increasing, and it's fiddly on this little tab so far. I think once it gets a little bigger, I'm more in the rhythm of how to do this. I'm not. I think the pattern is fine. I think it's just the holding this little tiny amount is always troublesome for me anyway. And these are Knit Picks cubics or cubes. It's a square needle, which I don't mind, but one of them has a slit or a ding in it, and it's been catching little fibers. So I'll be knitting, and something's caught on something 3 stitches back, and it's been bothering me. So I'm going to switch out these needles and or sand the edge of it or something. Although I'm not finding it now, but when I was knitting this, and I only knit on it for an hour or so, um, and I started it twice. Um, anyway, it's got a ding in it, and I took these right out of the package. So here is the ball of yarn with the cashmere, and again, I don't want to get into the whole ins and outs of buying this yarn. This one does have a factory name. It's I can't say these words; they're Chinese, and I'll just brutalize them. But 2 words, and then trading company, but it's even then it's trending company. So like the business practices for branding this yarn are not great. The yarn itself is fine, but the that it got sent with that as many spelling errors, and like there's no weight on it. They need marketing help. Um, but anyway, the yarn is beautiful, so I'm not going to complain. But I'm not going to go on a rip about the yarn again. If you want to hear my thoughts on the business practices, that was in episode 3, I think. The other thing I cast on was the DRK Everyday Cowl, which is a really nice pattern, and I've made it before. I had bought the yarn as a kit from Yarn Attic, and when it came, you got two balls of yarn. So you got these 2 kinds of yarn. So Sueño worsted by Haiku in the colorway Shifting Sands, and this is a 100-gram skein. And then Chopel, yeah, Chopel Edition 3, which is a color changing yarn, um, was the other one. But this is a 50-gram ball. And when I was reading the pattern, according to Andrea Mowry, it didn't matter which one you started with because you were going to use even amounts of both yarns. And she said that for the large size, that the cowl was going to take 150 grams of yarn, which should be an overestimate, but still, 50 and 75 are pretty far apart from each other. So I wrote to Yarn Attic and asked them, are you sure this is right? And they wrote back, yes, they're absolutely sure it's right. And they have test knitters that they trust and everything's good. Well, I didn't really believe it. So I bought 2 balls. They didn't have this one, which was color Mineral Resources. And because I wanted another one of those. So I ended up buying 2 of this one, which is very similar. This one's got some green in it, which this one doesn't. And this one has red in it, which this one doesn't. And this one was called Thermography. So I made the cowl and I ended up using 5 grams of into the new ball. So since you're changing color every other row, that's 10 grams worth of knitting that would have a different yarn in it. So I was glad I bought the extra 2 balls of yarn. So now I have one of these and this. So what I'm going to do is I cast on with this one, because where you cast on is going to be in the back when you sew it up. I think I'm going to pull out the darkest of the red areas and not use that yarn, and use 15 grams of this one, then use all of this one, and then go back to this one and finish. And I might, if I only use 5 grams, maybe I only have to use 2 or 3 grams of this and then go to this. But I don't want to keep going back and forth. What I have so far, and it's a striped cowl. Right where I started with this yarn, so far it's been a little bit of a gold color and then a lot of gray. But I'm getting into where it's red, but where it's very, very red, I think I'm going to pull out. And it's basically you start in the corner. It's a kerchief shaped cowl. So it comes down to a point in the middle. So when you've knit it all flat, it's sort of shaped like a upside down pentagon or home plate. And then you sew the 2 short seams up in the back and make a cowl out of it. um, so basically, it's garter stitch, going back and forth each row with a slip stitch detail. The pattern is written out. Every row is written out exactly what to do, but basically the repeat. The first row is always the same, and then the second row changes because that's when you're doing the slips. And she has it all counted out. Like one row you do 4, then start the slip. The other one should do 6 and then start the slip. So I think without looking at the pattern, I could figure it out, because now I've got my slip stitch rows already, or columns already in place. And I just have to, they're always the same width apart. So I don't have to rely on the pattern. So I think this is a good project to bring to Scotland, because while you're knitting the rows, except for where you're slipping periodically, it's just knit, 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 knit. So it's a little fiddly on the end. Where you change the color, you're also doing a make one. But once I get to I think once it grows to a certain length, then I'm only increasing on one side and not the other. And the one that you keep increasing on is the side where you're not where you're changing the yarn. So I think this one's definitely coming with me to Scotland. She recommends a number 6 needle, and I did that first, and then I had to take it out because I had made a mistake. So I started over with a 7. So I'm going to continue with the 7. I don't know if I'm just a tight knitter, or if especially this yarn is a little lofty. It's pretty round. So I think maybe that's what's causing me to be off a little bit. But I like both of these yarns, and hopefully the color, because of the color change, is going to be in the back. It's not going to matter. And it's color changing yarn anyway. So um, I don't know that anybody will be able to tell that I switched out my yarns. Um, I don't really have any acquisitions. I did buy the yarn for the musicale, so that's on its way. It's going to come while I'm on vacation, but I ordered it from Frankie Gray Fibers. Some people did comment that they liked the colors, but nobody commented whether I should buy from one of the vendors versus another. So I went with the Frankie Gray Fibers, and I got Sky High, which is my Coke bottle color, Army for the green, which is a little darker than what I wanted. They did have one that was called Avocado, but that was a little lighter. The cobalt blue is the perfect blue I was looking for. And then watercolor green, which is a variegated speckly yarn, has a lot of a lighter green in it, which is why I ended up going with the Army, which is a little bit darker. But in the end, like as much as I say I want it to be sea glass colors, I'm making a garment to wear. So the colors have to be cohesive with each other. And then for the mohair dare, I got the red brick color, which I'm not exactly sure it's going to be exactly the color. I'm looking for blood red, like giving blood red. And brick, just the word brick makes me think it's going to be orangier than what I'm actually looking for. But I'm perfectly happy with that. I also bought while I was there, because I'm on a buying spree. Um, they have a linen base out, which I'm not sure what it's called, but I bought the color Storm, and I am going to make the Fiorellino top by Isabell Kraemer, and it's a textured yoke tee. Um, the one thing when I bought the pattern already, and I was reading it. She's using a yak yarn, and said if you substitute the yarn, make sure it has resilience so that your textured stitches show enough stitch definition. So the linen, I'm a little concerned about that, but it's a linen and merino blend, like a baby merino. So I'm thinking it's going to be all right. If it's not, I'll have to pick a different pattern. And I have said before, like when it's sort of chicken and the egg. Sometimes I have a pattern and then buy yarn. Sometimes I have the yarn and then look for a pattern. But with this, I looked for a pattern while I knew which yarn base I was going to buy, and then I looked for a pattern. I think that's going to be the one, but if it doesn't work out, I'll just have to pick a different pattern. And then my 6 things that made me happy this week. Oh wait, I keep forgetting to do this. The chicken. I was going to show it last time and I forgot. And so I have it again. This poor thing has had its neck sliced open. So if gutted stuffy will bother you, don't look away, because I slit its neck open. Here's a chicken, and if anybody's seen the prior videos, I made these emotional support chickens. I have 3 grandchildren. One of my grandchildren pulled the eye out of her sister's chicken. So I'm looking for a way to secure it, toddler proof it. The back stayed on. It was my knitting was the problem. It was too loose of a gauge, and she just sort of wiggled it right out of there. So when she had it, the back was still attached. So I had to pry the back off, which when I had the one in my hand, I was able to use my regular goose sewing shears to get the one that was still attached to the chicken, which I need to be more careful. I use these like cuticle snippers, which I don't use. They must have come with a grooming kit or something, but it bent it. So these are ruined as far as using them for cuticles. But so I'm going to use these, I think, for the other chickens that I have to redo. And I think my son, who didn't, he came over and he likes the eyes better in the fixed version. So look away if this will bother you, but I'm going to turn its head inside out. I used bigger pieces of felt, and the first one I put the eye and the felt and the little ring of stitches together and then sewed it. And I kept catching it up on the little nubbin. Since then, I have cut the little pointy end off with those same toenail or cuticle things. The second time I sewed down the little ring of stitches and then put the eye in and cut its little pointy end off. So I first made these little rings of stitches. So I tried it in wool first. So I found some wool in a kit of like a Christmas stocking needlepoint kit. So I made this one and then I went down a needle or a hook size and then made that one. But these were too big. They stuck out too much on the around the chicken's eye. So then I made uh, then I made it out of um, DMC pearl cotton in the weight number 5. And I made it's 12 stitches around. I could never do this. I will take more detailed pictures and put them in there. Um, and made that, and then sewed that on down, and then put the eye through. And so there's the chicken now with its eye. So it's on like a little base of a black circle of DMC cotton stitches. 12 half double crochets was for the needle I was using or the hook I was using and my gauge. That was what worked best for me. Um, Here's my chicken who tends to have wonky eyes, but it actually looks better with the fixed chicken. My son was over and I think he wants me to fix his chicken to the bigger with the crochet thing on its eye. So the chicken saga is over. We don't have to talk about those chickens anymore, or my poor granddaughter. I've been dragging her name through the mud over a mistake she made. Um, so the chicken is done. I'm leaving on Monday on vacation, so next week I won't have the podcast unless I can do something from a hotel in on vacation, which I might because I'll have a lot more exciting things to talk about in yarny goodness over there than I have on a daily basis here. But then when I get back, I'll definitely share everything that I saw. We're in our itinerary. We are going to a wool mill. We're going to a sheep farm. Um, we have lessons in textured stitches, I think like a Gansey kind of stitching. Um, one in needle felting, which I know people really love it, but those little faces sort of freak me out a little bit. So I'm going to make something without a face on it. I think they asked us to have in mind what we want to make. So I think I'm going to try and make a little sheep, that wonky sheep that lamb that I had talked about in maybe the first episode. Um, I'm going to try to make the little lamb. So they said we could do a 3D or a 2D item. So, once I get there, I'll ask them if making a little lamb is too hard. Yeah, because I don't want anything that's going to be too hard to do. I'll do a flat, like a little picture of a lamb on like a in a pasture kind of thing. So anyway, I'm going to try and make that little wonky lamb. Um, Other than that, we have to bring a couple different sizes of needles, but then they'll give us the yarn. So I'm looking forward to it. I've never been on a knitting retreat. I have a little bit of imposter syndrome as far as everybody's going to be better at knitting than me, but got to start somewhere. Also, I'm a little nervous to go on vacation by myself. I've traveled on my own on business, and I've traveled on my own going back and forth from Connecticut to Florida, but um, to join a group where everybody's got a significant other with them or a knitting pal to be with, and I'm a little nervous about that because I'm not great at walking up to a group of people and saying, oh, can I sit with you? But I'm just gonna have to buck up and do it. So wish me luck with that because I am a little nervous about that. My 6 things that have made me happy this week is I'm not sure which episode it was. It might have been episode 2. I talked about Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation, which is a charity for cancer research for children's cancers in particular. And it was started by a family member, generationally a fairly distant family member. Her great grandfather and my mother were brother and sister. So, because there are so many in my mother's family, I have cousins who are old enough to be my parents. So I'm first cousin with Alex's grandfather, but I'm closer in age to Alex's father. Um, but anyway, Alex got cancer when she was, I think they found out when she was about 1. Um, she was born in 96, the same year as one of my sons. And she died when she was 8. And when she was about 4, she started Alex's lemonade stands to just raise money. And it just spread. And they're still doing it now. And they do in September what's called the Million Mile. And it's a run-a-thon. You pledge money, you pledge to run certain miles. I didn't pledge to run any certain amount of miles because I don't run. But I did give money. My sister and brother also gave money. And then my son in law, who does run, shared it with his social media group. And other people have donated. So outside of I knew I was going to get about $300 from my sister and brother and I, and we got an extra $141. So we raised $441 from other people. So I know one of them I think is a woman that I worked with. She just has her first name and she goes by a shortened nickname. So I think it's her. So I'm going to reach out to her and thank her. And my brother-in-law or my son-in-law's mother also donated, and then one of his friends, because that person put a go the go I don't want to say my son-in-law's name, but put a message to him out there. So uh that's one. Anyway, I checked on it because I'm leaving and the month will be over, and we raised $441. So I'm excited about that. Alex's Lemonade Stand is an excellent cause, and if we could keep one child from getting cancer in my lifetime, or be responsible for even one child not getting cancer, it's a blessing. The second thing is, as far as television watching, my daughter and I have been watching the Great British Baking Show. Um, I just love that show. Everybody's so supportive of each other. Prue Leith is just a phenomenally lovely lady. Um, and Paul Hollywood, when he first started, I thought he was a little bit mean spirited, but he's grown on me over time. I think he's matured into a nicer person too as time goes by. Um, so we're up to date. Another one drops Friday, which we may have time to see before I go, and then we'll be behind one when I get back. But so far, I don't have a big favorite, and there's none that I don't like. So yeah, every once in a while, there's one that you're like, oh, I can't wait for them to leave. But and I usually do have a favorite that I'm really rooting for. I think the person that our initial favorite got out the first week was a guy that just he couldn't not be in his own way, and he got out the first week. Um, my next one is called Plumes of Fichiel. I think that's in French. Um, I'll put it on the screen, a picture of him and the correct spelling of his internet. I see him on Instagram. So he sings songs and plays guitar in front of animals. So sometimes they're barnyard animals and he's right in with them. Other times it's more of a zoo um, area where the animals are in an enclosure, so he's not in any risk of. But the animals gravitate to him; they come right over to him. So like I said, sometimes it is a camel or a llama or a sheep, but other times it's lions and panda bears and tigers, and they just get up and come as close as they can get to him and just listen to him playing his music. And it's usually in English and songs that I've heard, and sometimes they're in French. So I'm not sure if he is French or another French speaking country or maybe Canadian. But for a minute and a half, 2 minutes, it's just such a nice thing to see these animals just be so inspired by his music that they literally get up from where they are and come over to him. My fourth thing, I was wondering if other people have done this. I've seen people where they use a dice or a spinning board or a bingo ball puller to decide what their next project will be. And so I had seen a pair of dice, or maybe it's only one single dice that you get, and it was quilting themed. And I was like, oh, I wish they would make a knitting one. And then I saw a knitting one, but when you click into it, because I was going to buy it, so I think they're $12 or something. It had a finish a whip, knit for 30 minutes, and then organized stash. And then it had organized stash again, but this time spelled both words spelled wrong. So there's only so many 6 sides of a dice. Only so many times I want to organize my stash. So I really wouldn't want that one, but I certainly wouldn't want it twice and one of them wrong. But I was wondering if other people did that. I know they make like 30-sided dice or 12-sided dice, and it might be interesting to put all your whips that aren't getting any love, and then roll the dice on like Whip Monday, and then work on whatever the fate's called to you that day. I was just wondering if and you can mention it in the comments. I don't get a lot of comments, but if you want to, say how you pick your next whip, or if something's languishing, like how you organize what you're going to work on, because not everything you intend to finish when you pick it up. But if I worked one day on each whip, I wouldn't see them for 2 weeks. So I can't do it that way. Anyway, my fifth thing is my nephew got married, and I had seen him in Connecticut. He had come up for a wedding from his other side of the family, so I didn't know these people. And so I met him at a brewery with my niece and my sisters, and her my niece's husband was there, and they're actually her 2 kids as well. And my nephew brought his fiance, and we just had such a good time. And I talked about going out he lives out in Washington, but I was talked about going out to Seattle for Flock Fiber Festival. And then I wasn't able to make it to Flock because I needed to renew my passport. It did expire in January, and I was worried there's like a 3-month rule that I've heard they don't really make you, and I was like right at the edge of the dates that 3 months out mine would expire. So I went ahead and renewed it, and I've been using mine as my real ID. So I couldn't go on. I didn't want to make a plane reservation and not have my passport back. So I didn't, and in the end it came. I could have gone, but I hadn't reached out to my nephew, and then he got married. Then my sister sent me a picture, and I sort of felt bad that she had a picture and I didn't. And so he reached out to me and said he had been sending me messages and I hadn't answered them. Well, my brother gave him either the wrong number, or I still have a landline in Connecticut, or gave him my landline. So I wasn't getting his messages. And I'm so thankful that he reached out a second time, because here I am feeling bad that he sent one of his aunts a picture and not his other aunt. And he was probably feeling bad that I ghosted him on going to Seattle. So we had a nice exchange. He gave me a ton of pictures from his wedding. His wedding was very, very small, and it was on a beach. And then they went like literally right from there to a music festival. He's very into music festival kinds of things. So it wasn't like he invited us to go out there. Like, we could have gone out, but we would have been on our own in an hour after he got married because he was leaving. So anyway, when you think somebody's ghosted you or hasn't gotten back to you, it might be that they have your wrong number. And I'm thankful that he took the initiative to reach out to me again, because he was probably feeling like I didn't get back to him either. And my last thing is my son. When I finished the Paloma, he's not an effusive complimenter. He said, "Oh, it's nice, soft, whatever." And then he was laying on my bed, and it was a few minutes later. He's like, I'm just thinking. A week ago, that was just string. And now it's a sweater. And I like, little does he know, that's a good compliment. Yeah, that he is, sort of amazed at the ability to take string and make a sweater out of it. So that gave me a chuckle and warmed my heart. But that's it. I hope you have more than 6 things that warm your heart every week. And until next time, until I'll be back from vacation next time I see any or talk to anybody, um, leave me tons of comments and I will get back to you as best I can. So far, I've been able to get back to everybody, and a few people we've had a little bit of a back and forth conversation, and I just love it. That's been the best thing so far for me, is the interaction with all of you. So thank you very much. Bye.